Well, we're finally getting back to a project. This needs to go in there. So I put this project aside a while back because, well, I was just tired of it and fairly disgusted. And truthfully, I'd rather have somebody else do it. But I need to take care of this. And it's my Torino. So there's nothing computerized about it. So what we need is one of these. What threw me off about this car was the distributor. I had no idea where it came from. And it took a lot of research, because this particular car did not come with electronic ignition. It came with a dual point distributor. And it was all set up for a dual point distributor. So I had to, I had to go old school. Yes, I had to get this one out. Professional Labor Guide and Parts Manual. Now, before you all start going, well, you know, it's faster on a computer. No, stop. It's not faster on the computer because you have no idea what you're looking for. So you're going to spend an hour and a half doing Google searches for something you have no idea what it is. It's a distributor. What did it come off of? What does it interchange with? This book will get you in the ballpark to where you can actually use a computer. So, let's open this up and I'll show you what I mean. As we get into the contents, Torino 474, Fairlane, Falcon, Granada, Maverick, Mustang, Torino, and of course it's got all the pictures. 72, there's mine right there, 73. There's the 73 grand, 74 grand. Now I got another one where the 73 and the 74, both the base models both had the same grille, but over here, distributor 486. So just flip it a few pages over. Not that many pages over. And here we go. Now, when we start going into the ignition system parts, labor, distributor, assembly, it tells you what the part numbers are. And this is important right here. Standard trans, automatic trans. You know, it tells you the price of what they were charging at the time. So now you got a part number. That's where you start. Now, I also inside have a cross-reference guide. So I can take that, put that number in and cross-reference it. This is what I had to do because this distributor is not out of the Torino. It's not the original distributor. I thought it was an aftermarket. I got looking at it, realized it was a Motorcraft electronic distributor that somebody had rewired. So it went from a 3-wire to a 2-wire, and they wired it up to run into an MSD ignition box. For something that's cobbled together, it actually runs remarkably well, but eventually, hopefully, that'll all be changed. So now we know what we're dealing with. But I needed to know what year that came out of, and that's where the cross-referencing guide came in. Because in 73, this wasn't available on the Torino line, but on the Cleveland, on the full-size luxury lines, electronic ignition was. And I'm wanting to say that the very last year, the Cleveland, I think was 74, you could get electronic ignition, but the guy I got this car from, he stripped out a 76, and so half of this car is 73, half of this car is 76. The engine now is out of a 70, so it's important to know where all your parts come from. That way you can have a better aim of reference when you're trying to find parts. But it took me a few minutes. Like I said, if you don't know what you're looking for, this is where this book comes in, because that got me a part number. Enter the part number into your Google search, and then suddenly, boom, you're on it. Now this right here is just a standard single point Motorcraft ignition. This was the one that came out of this engine here. This was out of a Cougar. And I could have swore I had another ignition box here somewhere. Yeah, I'm organized. So as I started going through all the tune-up procedures on the Cleveland, I've come to realize that the 351 Cleveland is just kind of a beast all of its own. Showing where it needs to be set at certain RPMs, like 10 degrees below top dead center instead of, 3 to 6 and stuff like that. Excuse me. And it's just kind of got its own little nuances. They're great engines, but, you love them or you hate them, but they're kind of one of those things that's kind of past their prime, but they're not bad. Now I have a rotor bug somewhere here. I took it inside. So here's just a standard rotor bug. Like I said, it just fits right into here and whoop, pops right in. So we're going to have to get the spark plug set. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, yeah. So as we go off to this, Ford Mercury compact and intermediate models. Apparently this was a mid-size. There's a 73 right there. Yay! And there's that 74 I was talking about. But, so, go over here. 73. This is the 351. Was originally the 2-barrel. And I'd have to figure out. It's the H code, yeah. So let's see, general engine specifications. For 73, this would be, let's see, timing 10 degrees below top dead center. Now, there's something also we have to consider. This engine came out of a 70. So is there going to be any problem? There shouldn't be. So it's all pretty much mechanical, but we'll have to deal with the electrical stuff here. It's all the same electrical stuff, same carburetor, same intake. Everything's identical except just the casting year. So this should be okay, but we'll have to check it out though. Like I said, I'm using the same distributor too that I had in the 73. So I'm guessing that it should be fine, but it's something we're going to have to play with. That's always something you need to, when you're well, that's not the right word, but when you have a car made up of many other cars. So as we move around here, we're trying to find the timing marks, and you can kind of see them. It's kind of hard. Focus. The timing mark is right here. Now, I'm going to get the timing marks for a 70 Cougar because this is a 70 Cougar timing mark. I believe it's identically the same. It's just something you need to check and cross-reference. But these manuals are so handy. Now, as I look at this, we see that it moves counterclockwise around the setting and the point type ignition. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. All 68 through 73 and some 74 Fords use breaker point ignition type systems. Excuse me. That kind of lines up with what I was saying, because all the cross-referencing that I found, a lot of them from the same years went to Mercury, so I think it may have been a thing on Mercury. I'm not an expert on this, but that's just kind of what I kind of stumbled across. So let's go and put this thing on top dead center and go from there. Well, I'm under the car and this is disturbing. Apparently all this thing does is leak, so yeah, I think all that's transmission fluid. Okay, so it's a little hard to see, but after a little bit of fear and loathing, we have it sitting right at about 8. Yeah, you really can't see that. Yep, that's crap. So I got it right around 9. I got it as close as I could. Well, you know, I wanted to go somewhere between 6 and 10, and it should run there. So now I need to stick the distributor aim it towards number 1, is this one right here, and then we'll do the firing order from there. Always check your firing order. We got this one here. See, like I said, below timing, below top dead center. We got 10, and it is figure mark B and firing order F. So flip over here, figure mark B and firing order F. So that's the front of the engine. So if we orientate it, firing order F, that. And it just occurred to me something. Firing order F with the rotation. Oh, that's backwards. So I'm good. Maybe. And this is why it's vitally important to check your work. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm above top dead center and not below top dead center. So I need to move it to the other side of that TC mark. I was reading it upside down and not paying attention because, well, that's what I excel at. So let's get this thing moved. A few minutes later, we're exactly where we need to be. And, well, just slightly. I'm at about 9. So now let's stab the distributor, get that in, and get the firing order hooked up, and then we'll see if we can get this thing to actually pop off. So now we got the distributor set in there, and then we have to go through the asinine process of putting this in. Now, once you get it started, it's not hard, but we'll have to snug it up and then just kind of go from there. Now, the number 1 kind of just fell into a spot, and I don't like it, but it'll work. I guess it's facing towards number 1, kind of. I mean, right there, but we'll make that work. When you're tightening these up, these wrenches are invaluable. If you can see that, these just fit right under here, and sometimes it takes a while if it's binding a little bit, but just get them up here to where they're snug. Now you want it tight to where it doesn't vibrate, but loose enough to where you can rotate it. So yeah, that's good. So let's get the cap on. So for the moment, I think I'm stymied. I believe the points system uses a taller rotor button than the electronic ignition. I haven't confirmed that, but I can't use the right distributor with it. For some reason, things just aren't going together right. I don't know why. So I'll have to study a little more on that and go see if I can look, but hopefully here soon we can get this going. I really do like this car. This is so much fun. It's got a awesome stereos in it, you know, and I really like it. So I guess I'll do a little research and I'll have to get back to you. It's been a couple hours. Let me show you where we're at. So if you've noticed, all the plug wires are back off, cap's back off. We got this to fit, aftermarket parts. After a while, I got to realizing that the rotor bug wasn't seating properly. So I dang near had to whack it with a hammer, but once I got it down to where it was supposed to be, it's fine. The engine shot. So I got looking in here. We had a little backfire. I had it 180 out, and see that? That's engine oil. I gave it a couple of cranks to see what would happen, and it spun just. It spun like it had no compression, and that's a problem. So then when I went to put the power to it, it turned like it was going to fire, then all of a sudden started hydrolocking. And that tells me one thing, that it's full of oil. So what I need to do is pull the spark plugs out and spin it. But truthfully, for as cheap as they let me have this engine, I honestly think this engine was shot. You know, they said it was rebuilt, but I think it was a Craigslist rebuild. So, because there was nothing on this engine that really screamed I was rebuilt. So I could keep diving into it, pull the plugs out and all that, and see what happens. But I don't think I'm going to. I've long suspected, I've been tinkering with this engine for a while now. I just haven't had a lot of time to really devote to this car. And that's my fault. I needed to do that. But what I've kind of suspected once I dug into it is it might have been taken apart and done a Craigslist rebuild with, you know, spray paint and maybe new rings or something like that. But there's zero compression in this engine. I truthfully don't know. They said they got about 250 miles out of it, and it was this, that, and the other thing. And that story never washed with me. If you got a brand new engine that you built with 250 miles on it, that you've spent all this time and money, you're going to fix it. You just don't pull it out, especially not out of a classic 1970 Cougar. So I think this engine came out of a car that they scrapped, honestly. I think they thought it was good. I think there was a story attached to it. I don't know if they're telling the truth or not. I couldn't tell you if they are. Truthfully, at this point, I don't care. I've had the engine for 4 to 5 years now, and yeah, it's how long it's taken me just with work and everything else and Crown Vic fear. I just haven't got to it. But this is where we're at with this. Well, at least we know we're getting oil to the top of the engine. Truthfully, what I really need to do is just take the car and the original engine over here to an actual rebuilder, and just maybe this summer or maybe this winter, just spend the money and have somebody do it. It's going to be very expensive, and that's part of why I haven't done it. You know, I don't make any money from this YouTube. I don't have merch. I'm not like any of those other guys that, you know, are really big and have all that stuff and sponsors. No, all of this pretty much comes out of my own pocket, and that's why a lot of it's really cheesy, hammy, and secondhand parts. But that's the way I like it, and I'm assuming that most people that watch this are pretty much in the same boat I am. But, you know, with work and everything, I just haven't really had the time to devote to it, and with all the stuff piled all over it, it's kind of, I don't think I'm doing the car justice. So I need to probably send it off to a rebuilder and see what they can do. I got one eyed out, but we'll have to talk to him. So as for this car, I'm sorry, guys. I really hoped to, you know, it's just me here, and I hope to have it running and get some great video and all that, and I didn't have enough hands, but there just wasn't anything to see. I mean, we could crank it right now, but it's ugly. But when I cranked it, it spun way too free, and that really bothered me. So yeah, and with the oil blowing out the top, that tells me that we have more than 2 problems. So anyhow, I'm really sorry. I was hoping to have some good news on this. So I guess the saga will continue, and we're gonna see what happens. But let me crank it and I'll show you. All right, turn the key. And the battery's shot. Truthfully, I thought it was 180 out, and I flipped it, and then I flipped it back, and now I just need to pull it all out and retime it one more time if I decide to go this route again. Battery needs to go on a charger. I took it out of the Crown Vic, the 04, because I bought a new battery for it, and apparently it wasn't all that stellar. So maybe in a day or two before I leave, I'll play with it again. But we'll just have to go from there. So with that, I guess I'll have to just leave you guys. Yeah, it's disappointing, but there's nothing I can do at the moment, and so it'll get done. You know, I've been saying that for a couple of years, but I do mean it, and maybe we can put something modern in it. I'm not sure yet, but I would like to take it on power tour some year, but we'll just have to find out. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next video.